Today, we're diving into a really powerful story, a moment that shaped the lives of two absolute legends, the great warrior Imam Ali and his son, a young Ghazi Abbas. It's a story about a test, about unbelievable strength, and about a father's incredible love.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. The one question that this whole story revolves around is why? Why would a father, of all people, raise his sword against his own son? It sounds completely wrong, right? But stick with me, because the answer to that question, well, it changes everything.
At the center of this, we have a kid who's just 13 years old, Ghazi Abbas, the son of Imam Ali. Now, he'd been trained by the absolute best, his father. He'd learned everything there was to know about fighting, about honor, about character, and now he was about to face a trial that would define the rest of his life.
And that brings us to the first part of the story, what's called Ek Pita Ka Imtihan, which means a father's test. Imam Ali looks at his son and decides, you know what? The time has come. It's time to see what he's really made of.
Now, that word, imtihan, is super important here. This wasn't going to be some pop quiz or a simple sparring match. No, this was a test of something deeper. It was a test of his character, his loyalty, his very spirit. Imam Ali had taught him everything, and now he needed to know if those lessons had truly become a part of who he was.
So, the instructions he gives his son are incredibly direct, but man, do they carry some weight. He says, go to our garden. Your job is to guard it until morning. And then comes this line, I give you permission to eliminate anyone who trespasses. Think about that. That's a heavy, heavy command for a 13-year-old. And what does Abbas say? Does he ask questions? Does he hesitate? Not for a second. His response is immediate, built on pure love and respect. As you command, Father. He was all in.
Okay, so now the scene shifts. We're in a section called Sher Bete Ki Pehredari, which translates to the lion's son's watch. Abbas heads to the garden, and you can just feel the entire mood start to change.
He takes his position, and this deep, profound silence just falls over the entire garden. You could hear a pin drop. The air is thick with anticipation.
The story goes that it got so still that even the wind itself seemed to just stop, like all of nature knew that something really, really important was about to happen.
And that's when you realize, yeah, this is so much more than a kid standing guard. This is a trial of the highest order, unfolding under a quiet, dark sky. It's begun.
And then, suddenly, that silence is shattered. This is where the action kicks in a part called Ajnabi Se Muqabla, the duel with the stranger. The test is on.
Out of the darkness, a figure on horseback appears. His face is hidden behind a mask. Abbas, doing his duty, immediately warns him, telling him he has his father's permission to kill any trespasser. But the stranger? He doesn't just ignore him. He rides up to a tree and starts shaking it aggressively. It's a total act of defiance. And that's it. Swords are drawn, and in the dark, they just explode into a clash of steel, like flashes of lightning.
The fight is absolutely furious. At one point, the stranger's blade just gets past Abbas's defense and gives him a small cut on his arm. But as the stranger pulls his sword back, he says something really strange. He says, Abbas, you are very brave, but you are still younger than me. And with that, poof, he's gone, vanished back into the night.
So the fight's over, but for young Abbas, the real battle, the one inside his own head, is just getting started. This part of the story is called Har Gagera Zakm, which means the deep wound of defeat.
You see, Abbas felt two different wounds that night. The first was that little cut on his arm. For a warrior, that's nothing, right? But the second wound, that was the one that hurt. It was the wound to his soul, this crushing feeling that he had failed his father. He let an intruder get away. His mother, Banin, finds him in the garden, and he's just heartbroken. He tells her, I wish he had taken my head. This wound has wounded my heart. The shame he felt was so much worse than any physical pain. He felt like he wasn't the lion his father thought he was.
But hold on, the story's not over yet. As the sun comes up, Imam Ali arrives, and this is where we get the final amazing revelation. This section is called Kamyabi Ka Asli Matlab, the true meaning of success.
Okay, so let's just ask the question straight up. After everything that happened, the stranger getting away, the wound, Abbas's feeling of complete failure, did he actually fail the test?
And his father's answer was immediate. It was powerful. It was absolute. No, he did not fail.
Can you imagine the mix of relief and total confusion Abbas must have felt when he heard his father say, "Abbas, you did not fail. You have succeeded." How? How could that be? He lost the fight.
And this is where Imam Ali reveals the incredible truth. He says, "Son, I have fought the greatest champions of my era, legendary warriors. Their strength never once made my arm tremble. But tonight, fighting you, for the first time in my life, my arm shook."
And then comes the big reveal, the final piece of the puzzle. That masked stranger, it was never a stranger, it was Imam Ali himself, in disguise. He wasn't there to beat his son. He was there to feel his son's true power for himself.
And with that, Imam Ali pulls him into an embrace and gives him the real result of the test. You accomplished at 13 what I have been doing for 50 years. You passed. The test was never about winning a duel. It was about courage, it was about loyalty, and it was about having a strength so incredible it could make the greatest warrior who ever lived tremble. And in that, Abbas hadn't just passed, he had absolutely triumphed.